Hello there, it's 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. We know what that means. Another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. Thank you so much for joining us. Introduce yourself.
Andy Kahn, Director of Victim Service at Crime Stoppers Houston, and to the viewer that sent me this entire giant bag of Pez, thank you. These will be dispensed orderly. No pun intended.
Such a nice viewer. Also joining us is Douglas Griffith. Introduce yourself.
Doug Griffith, I'm president of the Houston Police Officers Union, and I brought my own monster, which I still love.
What do you got?
So if anybody with monsters watching and want to
Feel free
supply,
to come my way.
that's right, that's right. So one of the things we decided we're going to do today is we're going to take a look back, right? We've been doing Breaking Bond for more than 2 years now. And so we thought we would tell you what's happened to some of
We
the...
have pictures of you like 2 years to show the aging process.
No, I age, you don't, so no, we're not doing that. We're looking at what's happened to some of the defendants that we featured in the Breaking Bond segments.
So one of the first ones we did was Vernon Menifee was kind of our impetus into this. This was a guy that was on multiple bonds, including bond for murder, and then they released him again on bond, despite the fact that he was on bond for 3 counts of ag robbery and multiple convictions. So that he kind of led us to where everything was going here. So Vernon got 37 years
In prison.
So 18 years from now, you and I will bring up the fact he's up for parole. So will be something. There's a lot of these guys that have gotten life sentences. There's a lot of them scheduled for jury trial. Some of them got 30 years, 40 years. Whereas this one guy, Channing Powell, 45 years. There's a lot of guys that are doing some heavy duty time. One of the ones that we did involving an infant, DeAndre Calhoun, that we did on Breaking Bond, because we thought it was really strange that he was already out on an injury to a child.
Yeah, that one was really sad, because he was, first he's accused of beating his infant son.
Yep.
He gets out on bond, and then he kills his daughter, right?
Yeah.
And he's in prison now.
So he's in prison now. There's a couple people that are doing some time out of state here. There are a few that did get dismissed and then got refiled. One guy got dismissed, but they convicted him of tampering, with a corpse right here. So you remember we did, Jesus Gallegos.
Yeah.
Another one, because there were like guy was on 5 bonds. 3 of them were PR bonds. And then you remember the pretrial release had this paragraph and a half where of all the violations, and then they just said we can't find them, and nothing happened. And then they had a young lady, he got 40 years.
Have you found anyone that we featured that was acquitted, found not guilty?
No, I found one that was, they dismissed the murder charge, but convicted him of another murder charge.
Right.
So you'll find stuff like this. I've not seen, there's also 5 of them, and that's, I guess, another story on another day, that are now fugitives.
The 5 that are gone.
5 that are gone.
You're shocked, aren't you?
That are gone, they're on this list.
And again, that has to be the most dangerous people that law officers come in contact with, right? You're wanted. You know that there's a warrant for your arrest, and sometimes it's, hey, I'm not going to go back. I'll shoot my way out if I have to.
Right, and the average officer doesn't know who they're
I was
stopping
going to
like
ask
that.
you, so you have no idea.
No.
You pull somebody over that they're.
Not unless we get a tip. Thanks to y'all, we get lots of tips.
That's good.
But for the most part, we don't know when we conduct that traffic stop, or we get out of the car and approach somebody, or we even get a call. We get calls to homes all the time where the person in there is a fugitive. We have no way of knowing that.
When you get there, right?
And this is actually, since we're talking about this, is actually the anniversary of Jim Murphy's
Is it really?
murder, and he pulled over a guy that was wanted as a parole fugitive from the halfway house.
Yeah.
Of course, he doesn't know when he pulls luncheon over as well. So going back to 1990, when seems to be an ongoing, issue on this as well.
And and again, everybody understands that you are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Well, a lot of these people that we featured, they are now have been found guilty in a court of law. And I think you would agree that, again, it goes back to if you're on bond and you keep picking up new criminal charges, are you the innocent person? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like you're not doing yourself any favor,
No,
right?
you're showing the court that you're not going to be a productive member of society. You have no intention of changing your ways if you continue to go out and do the same thing over and over, or even worse. As we've watched, y'all brought it to the spotlight so many times about these people that are on multiple felony bonds, they go and kill someone. I blame the judges for that, because they can sit here and claim all day long, oh, I have to give them a bond. I have to give them a bond on the first one.
Right.
Once they commit another crime, they can hold them at that point. They
Last-
violated the provisions of the first bond.
Last week, we had Chuck Silverman, right?
Yeah.
He was, do you remember the court?
183rd.
183rd. He was, for 4 years, he was the judge in the 183rd. He was here last week. If you get a chance, it's on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And he talked about that. And Andy and I told him, we very rarely saw his name when we were, looking at some of these cases. And he said that he took it seriously. And he agreed that, yeah, if somebody is violating the conditions of the bond, I can do something about it. And yes, judges can do that.
Yeah, especially a violent offender.
Yeah.
Look, these judges have full access to all the records. They can see stuff you and I don't even get to see.
Right.
And they can go down there and look at they can actually dive into each one of those cases if they want to and see what took place in those. They choose not to.
Right.
They're going to sit there and go, oh, well, the Second Amendment of the Texas Constitution says we can.
Everybody has to have a bond. Everybody gets a bond.
Everybody gets bond. It's just not accurate. It's a lie.
Right.
It's a way to keep their docket clear. It's a way not to hold people to overcrowd the jail. Well, guess what? The jail's already overcrowded.
Right.
We're
And look at what we're doing now. Right.
We are paying for people to be housed in Louisiana. Why?
Right. And if anybody for 1 minute thinks that there's some poor Joe sitting in the Harris County Jail, not able to cough up $500 for some theft bond, they're out of their mind, aren't they? That does not exist. If somebody is down there under those circumstances, it's because they choose to be. They don't want to get out of the jail, right?
It was funny because I was getting just agitated listening to a radio host here in Houston, a morning show where they were talking about that and said, we've got guys sitting in jail because of marijuana cases.
That's not true.
It's just not accurate.
Right.
And they get in, they get right back out, and
Right.
they're going to get a PR bond.
Yeah.
The ones that are probably the most agitating are the ones where we have these car burglars. I mean, they hit so many. It's unreal.
Burglary motor vehicle
Yes.
cases, I was actually on KTRH this morning.
Oh,
Yes, I
Okay.
was, which is why I was sleeping, because there's nothing worse than doing a 620.
Trust me, I've done several. It's because
To do that.
It's just not a
I
morning
think we were
person.
talking about what was going on in Dallas, because the Dallas police chief, and I said, it's a sign of the times. You can't respond to all these calls for services, especially crimes that are labeled, quote, non-violent. But at the same time, I said, it's the non-violent offenders that, quite frankly, wreak more havoc
Yeah.
in a community,
Right.
because this is their career of choice.
Right.
And they know there's very little, if any, repercussions, even if they do get caught.
Right. Well, sometimes, I mean, think about it. You can be better off if someone just comes up and pulls a gun on you and says, give me your wallet, where if you wake up one day and your car's gone, you can't get to work, there's this domino effect where you can really have an impact on people's lives.
I've had my vehicle broken into several times now. You gotta take a day off, get your window fixed. You gotta pay to have your window fixed. The deductible's not gonna cover that.
No.
And it's a pain in the butt. And the sad part is, you feel violated. It's
Yeah.
just like a burglar case. What you believe is yours. Look, I worked hard for this vehicle. Everything in it's mine. It's paid for. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. people break in, get your stuff, take off with it, with no regard for anybody else.
Right.
You know, and it becomes personal at that point for so many people out there. And it's sad that we're having to get in a position where we're going to have to tell them, hey, we need your report online. We don't have enough officers to go out there.
Right.
And now,
When you capture somebody,
barely trading more.
what's gonna happen to someone who gets charged with breaking into your car?
They're gonna be out in a matter of
Well,
hours.
what's gonna happen is they're gonna get a bond.
Yeah.
They'll get another bond, they'll get another bond. They'll continue that because it's nonviolent. We had one here, the guy had like 14 different bonds for murder of a motor vehicle. Number one, he sucks at burglarizing cars. But on top of that, he's showing he's not going to change.
Right,
It's a risk versus reward. Right now, there's no risk.
right.
Even if I get caught, okay, you got me, take me down, I'll be out in a couple hours and I'll be.
There's no consequence.
Even if you get
Yeah.
convicted, because it's a nonviolent offense, the chances of you actually going to prison are slim.
You'd go to state jail, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen?
Right.
What in reality, what's gonna happen? A good attorney, even a state attorney's gonna go in there and go, hey, look, man, I'll plead you out, you plead guilty, we'll dismiss all these cases.
Right.
Go about your business.
Well, look-
Because there's a conviction there.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, that's what it's about for them.
right. And when you think about it, I mean, if some of these criminals that have multiple charges, if you wanted to do every single one, right, it would
It's not
take,
gonna take care of it.
right, it's
So-
just, it's not gonna happen.
Well, we don't,
Yeah,
I like to say this, unlike our department, we don't, Harris County doesn't stack charges. So if I have 3 robbery cases, the DA's office more than likely is only gonna take one of those charges.
Yeah.
The other 3 are gonna be for punishment phase.
Right.
And that way they don't have to prove them up.
And they're gonna pick the one that has the best evidence.
Correct.
So, yeah.
And so the guy's only gonna get conviction on one of those robbery charges, though he did 4 that he got busted for, and you know he's probably done 20 if he
Right.
got busted for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like when someone gets caught, the first thing you have to ask yourself, how many times did you do it before you got caught?
exactly.
So I was at the Galleria this week.
Oh, yeah?
That was the first time, I don't know why, I've been there
You're just such a fashion
5
player.
years. I
That's why.
decided just to, everywhere I went within, first of all, I've never seen so many Houston Police Department officers in my life.
Really?
This was on a Saturday evening. I've never seen so many officers. And I would say every 100 feet, I would run into these signs called Circle of Respect. Shop safe. Never leave children or pets unintended in vehicles. Remove your valuables. Conceal and turn off Bluetooth enabled devices left in vehicles. Lock your cars. Take your keys. Shot everywhere I went.
Really?
I'm thinking, going, am I in some sort of dystopian science fiction movie? Because I'm seeing all these law enforcement officers, I'm seeing all these signs, and I'm just walking around the mall. I'm like, this is insane that this is what it's become.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. We've had, what, 2, 3 shootings at Galleria?
Yeah.
And so.
Which used to be unheard of.
Oh, yeah, that.
You would never hear about a shooting at the Galleria, ever.
But now, because of those type things, we have to have, they have to hire uniform security there.
Yeah.
And they have to have enough to take care of the job.
Right.
I mean, it's sad.
I went around and I was looking at, particularly jewelry places that you used to walk window and see their stuff.
No more.
No more.
Yeah.
There was nothing on display.
Yeah.
And I'm going, and this is what happens when we all continue to condone this type of behavior. And that was my first thought, was this is now the new norm. This is now acceptable, that I go to a mall and I feel like I'm in some sort of, third prison or something, because I've got law enforcement walking around. I got signs telling me to be on the lookout, on the where, and this is now accepted.
I did a story a couple of weeks ago with some folks that lived in the Galleria area. And one guy, he was retired law enforcement, and he filed a bunch of, open records requests, and he got the crime stats for that area. And, HPD was wanting to say, oh, crime stats. No, crime wasn't down. I mean, it was not down. And there were people that have lived there a long time that they won't go out at night.
No.
I mean,
And you can't blame them.
Right,
Blame
but
them, you
for a long time, I would have considered that probably one of the safest areas of Houston to be in.
Absolutely, it was the high-end stores.
Yes.
That everybody went to from the River Oaks area and
And it was like the place, like if you had people visiting from out of town that had never been here before, you'd always take them there, right? Yeah.
And now we're in a position where we have to have armed security going in and out of the place.
Yeah.
And it's truly sad.
Shop safe right there.
Facebook viewer, Ann says, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
Wait.
I did. I felt like I
Yeah.
was walking around, and I felt like I was in some sort of Tom Cruise Minority Report movie with armed officers everywhere walking around. It's just a sad reflection on what we've become and what we condone, and I blame us.
Look at it, I just did a story, or helped out with a story recently about the site release. And all the things that we can site release for. And they said, why are we having so few site release? Well, I can tell you why. Because the citizens don't want that.
Right.
The complainants don't want that. If I walk into a business and I've got some guy that tried to steal, $500 worth of jewelry, I'm supposed to cut him a ticket and let him walk out of it? How does it look to the store owner?
Right.
How does it look to all the people that put themselves at risk taking this guy and detaining him until we got there?
Yeah.
It looks like we're not doing our job.
When
And
do
I
you
hate
do
that.
it? Like when
Up to
is it?
$750 in theft and damages from burglary of motor vehicle. I mean, not burglary of motor vehicle, but criminal mischiefs, trespassing charges. Now, how frustrating is this? If you get some guy trespassing, you write him a ticket, let him go. What do you think you're gonna do?
Go right back.
Go right back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would I site release these kind of nonviolent offenses?
Yeah.
And, our officers do what they can, and, because it is difficult. It is difficult when you have a policy that says, hey, if at all possible, you're gonna do this. If you don't do that, you have to call the supervisor and explain why. It should be the opposite.
Right.
It should be, hey, they're going to jail. If you're going to cite and release them, I want you to explain to the supervisor why you want to cite and release them. It says the opposite.
Right.
And that's just, to me, that's just upside down.
Right.
I mean, I can remember if I was going to put somebody in jail for new traffic, if they had an ID, I'd call the supervisor out. But if they didn't have an ID, they went to jail. You can't do that anymore. If they've got a credit card with a name on it, you just write them a ticket and let them go. And how do you know it's actually them?
Yeah, you don't, right?
You don't. You don't. You have to. You do what you can to find the computer system. You do. It's getting more and more difficult on the law enforcement side to be able to put people in jail, and it's by design. I truly feel it's by design.
What do you think it'll take to change that?
It's going to take someone high up in the government being murdered in a horrific way. And I'm sorry to say it like that.
No, human nature.
That's human nature.
Yeah.
Until somebody important
Right.
gets killed
Yeah.
at the hands of a crook that's been out on 5 or 6 bonds, nothing will change.
Yeah, well, it's real easy, when it's not in my backyard, I'll just look the other way, and it's not really affecting me. But yeah, you're right, that's when change comes, is when somebody
And it's sad that
of
somebody-
authority
Exactly
gets
right.
kicked in the gut.
Well, we saw this in the story when we were in Hockley last week with the Ertman and Pena.
Right.
30 years ago, and we saw what happened as a result of that case that, took on monumental attention on that, and that case resulted in a lot of changes because of what happened to the 2 girls 30 years ago.
Yeah. And I think that just kind of struck a nerve in every single parent, especially parents of teenage girls, because it was the old,
Well,
the
the city also had to recognize that even though they claimed there was a gang problem.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And that brought that
Yeah.
full attention,
Well,
that case.
I was one of the very first gang task force officers in the city.
Really?
I worked Southeast.
Yeah.
In 1993, they developed those, and I was one of the first officers on the gang task force in Southeast. And let me tell you something, they were out of control. And to a point, they still are.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the criminal activity, the hardcore criminal activity, is gang related.
Yeah,
And we don't have the same impetus on gang investigation we used to have. I mean, we had a 10-man group at every station and an investigative team at every station on gangs, that did gangs, nothing but gangs. We don't really have those anymore. Now they're just all crime suppression teams, you know, you
Right.
got three at the station that are days, evenings, nights. And they don't have the same focus on gang.
well, remember, back in the early nineties, Kim Hogg was the gang, what was her title?
Anti-gang director.
Anti-gang
Right, 'cause
director.
that was
Now,
when
the
Bob
funny
Lanier.
Well, she was originally the gang prosecutor.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how I met her in the early 90s. And she was phenomenal. She did a great job. She used to become the anti-gang liaison. And who followed her?
The now commissioner.
You are correct. You are
Wow.
correct.
So, yeah, it's a fascinating odyssey.
See how that progressed.
No,
But you know, if you go back and you look at what we're gonna cover tonight, going back when we were originally talking about
Yeah.
bond forfeiture cases. And we're gonna be talking about this on tonight's Breaking Bond, is someone that's blown the coop, right? And do you have any idea how many people are in bond forfeiture?
Well, they don't really do it very often. So,
And
to be honest, there's not a whole lot of bond forfeitures out there.
nobody keeps track of this, do they?
No.
That's the most mind-boggling thing to me. You would think that, just from a matter of public safety, there should be some entity within Houston, Harris County that you could go to and say, hey, where's the list of all the people that have skipped bond and are now wanted? But we don't keep that information.
My analogy has always been, if someone breaks out of prison, TDC, the world knows.
Oh, yeah.
An APB, media alert, you know, be on the lookout, such and such escaped from prison. The same person who escaped their bond, nobody knows.
And you've even made it clear that if someone compiles all this, you'd be more than happy to feature them on Crime Stoppers so they could get caught.
I would think we would want to do at least, let's say, the top 10 most wanted bond fugitives.
Right.
I can't get anybody to bite on that.
No.
I don't know
Which
why.
is- Because no court wants to be responsible for somebody in their court
Right.
being out there and absconding.
And
not
nobody,
putting a warrant out for them.
and nobody wants to know how many there are out there because there's a lot of them. That's what I think.
There's a difference between a bail jumping warrant and a warrant for failure to appear.
Right.
You need that, if nothing else, file it every single time. That way you've got two felonies to deal with the warrant.
Yeah. But yeah,
They're gonna plead, now they gotta plead a little higher because you got a second.
it's almost like, well, nobody really
A
needs
lot
to know
of the
that.
cases that we've done on breaking bond originally were bond forfeiture cases.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of police shootouts
Mhm.
involving bond forfeiture cases. And actually, we've done several bond forfeiture cases in which the person who forfeited their bond forfeited their life
Yeah.
as a result of getting in a police shootout.
Right, because they're,
as well.
firing at police and end up dead.
Mhm.
They're the most dangerous people walking among us, but yet nobody wants to figure out exactly who they are and how many there are.
Well, you can call it Harris County and, try to find out, hey, how many people do we have currently on bond that did not show up? There's gotta be a way to track that.
Right.
There has to be a way to track that. We know that if they don't show up in court, they're supposed to get a warrant for their arrest, but they don't always file the secondary charge.
Right.
Okay, they just file a warrant for failure to appear. If that's the case, then that's just that one particular case.
Right.
As soon as they get there, they get right back out on that.
Yeah, oh, look how many times we've seen that, where somebody will, they might skip a court appearance or two, or they might even end up getting arrested again, and then they'll take away the failure to appear in court and put them out on bond.
Yes.
Bond reinstated.
Yeah,
All the time.
Yeah.
And misdemeanors, if you just don't show up in court,
they don't, nothing happens.
no, they send you a letter for another court date.
I mean, I hate to say this, and you tell me if I'm wrong when I say this, but you're almost a fool if you go through the process on a misdemeanor, right? Because nothing's going to happen to you.
You should be able to phone it in and go, hey, look, I'll take 3-8 times.
Right.
I mean, if.
Yeah, I'll be at the house
Yeah,
arrest.
I'll be at the house for the next 3 days. You can come check on me, whatever.
Yeah,
You know, we've got to do something to clear those out. And they're not gonna get any time. There's nowhere to put them.
right, they're getting
They're not
cleared,
going to prison for a misdemeanor case.
they're being dismissed like crazy. I mean, it's almost like I feel sorry for the poor schmuck that actually thinks, well, I'm gonna do the right thing, and I'm gonna go to court, you know, and I'll pay my fine, and all. If you do nothing, no one's gonna come get you.
If there's people that are still going to court and they're doing their time, they should be rewarded when they get out of jail and be given a job or something.
A piece of cake, something, come on, right, get a car.
It's showing responsibility on that individual's part.
Yeah, it's like,
Hey, look, I messed up, and you know, I hate to get off into this, but you know, our social media, we kind of make fun of people from time to time. Just saying we do.
Sure.
And this one individual who got busted racing,
Oh, that
yeah,
was
yeah.
Randy Seals, he's an amazing guy. He called me up. I had a nice conversation. He goes, hey, look, I'm 44 years old. I'm not 54. I still do stupid stuff. This is what it is. And, but he turned it into a positive.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was amazing on his part to step up and do that. That's the kind of guy that needs to be, hey, you learned your lesson, case dismissed, let's move on.
Right.
Not the guy that goes out there and again and again and again and again continues to act like a fool in public and show that they're not here protect members.
And never takes any kind of accountability.
No.
So what do we got tonight? So speaking of bond forfeiture cases, we're gonna feature one.
Just really?
So funny how we ended up into that segue.
Yeah, nice segue.
So tonight, we're gonna feature someone who just hasn't shown, he's been missing now, it'll be almost a year.
What's really interesting about it is, and be sure to check out tonight's story, because this guy that we're going to be interviewing, he had a shootout with these two dudes who were trying to steal his catalytic converter. One of them is in prison right now, serving 7 years. The other one is long gone, and nobody knows where he is. So be sure to tune in to Fox 26 News at 9 for Breaking Bond. Thank you so much for joining us. Be kind to yourself and everyone else.
Hey, Andy, did you not get the shirt memo?
I know, I noticed the show, I
He
did
always
not
wears black.
get this, but see, I'm contractually obligated to this.
And I got something to pimp.
These two you gotta worry about.
That's right.
The fact that there's matching coordinates.
I
You
got
look a little sketchy. He does. Right.
I got something to pimp. Hey, dude, shoes. They are comfy, man.
I cannot stand those shoes.
What?
Yeah.
They're so comfy.
They do look comfortable.
I can't do it.
Okay, thanks for watching.
See you next month.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's right, next month. We won't be here for the 4th. Catch us the Tuesday after that. Bye.